Welcome everybody. This is the first episode of Gamers Gone WOD.
Awesome.
I've got Vinny over here. My name's Joe, and we're going to tell you a little bit about why we're here. I kind of had this idea from talking to Vinny that, hey, I wanted to get back into gaming during COVID and stuff, and realized that maybe there's a small group of people, or maybe a large group of people that are like gamers that also are into fitness, and maybe there's some gamers that want to get into fitness, or fitness people that want to get into gaming, or right, like they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So I asked Benny to come over and record this. So this is pretty much how it was born, and here we are with our first episode. Got anything you want to add to that of the intro?
Yeah, no. I thought it was a really cool idea because I'm a big gamer, and a couple of years ago I was in a very bad space as far as my fitness is concerned. But working with you, Joe, I was able to kind of transfer out of that gaming space solely and start like getting a little more fit. But at the same time, I never really had to give up gaming or anything like that. Like I could still game and feel like I had time to like go grind and get the levels and stuff that I wanted and get good at games while also getting fit in real life. And it's a really good transition. It's awesome because I was personally able to take like that the thrill you get of chasing like a level in a game, or trying to work on your account or whatever, and seeing it grow. But then I took that concept and kind of applied it into the gym, and so seeing myself grow, like recording workouts and movements and things like that, is kind of the same feeling you get there. So I thought it was a great idea, and super happy that we're doing this and making it happen. So thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in my mind, we're co-hosts here, and we're going to share our journey with everybody. As people who are maybe average, CrossFitters, we're big into CrossFit, so we're probably going to throw that term around a lot. It doesn't exclude anybody who's not specifically CrossFit, but that's where our background is, and we love it. We don't necessarily agree with all the craziness lately that's been going on, but as a methodology, I think it's still an awesome thing to do, and that's what we're still planning on doing, is that same methodology. And so when you talk about following the games and stuff, and using that same drive in the gym, like, do you think of like, oh, I'm level 6 CrossFitter now, or
I actually make jokes with myself like that. A big game I always think about is RuneScape. I played a lot of that back in high school, and they actually remastered like the old school version of it
nice.
in the last couple of years. So got back on that, and just that idea of throwing hours and hours and hours to see your account grow. Same thing, throwing hours and hours and hours in the gym and just seeing myself grow. Just recently, we did a workout. We use Sugar WOD to track all of our movements and things like that. And I was actually able to see my time on a workout I did last year and this year. And like I stayed basically the same, but I added like a lot of weight to the workout. So it's just kind of cool to see that progression there. So it really translates very well, in my opinion.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So let's talk about our journey a little bit, where we came from as far as fitness and gaming. Did you want to go first, or?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
So I used to be fairly fit in high school. I did like track and cross country, and I had a lot of fun with that for a long time. But then I kind of, died off, fell off the wagon, I guess you could say. And then college came and started going into my drinking and partying stage, and stopped exercising pretty much altogether and gained a lot of weight really fast. Then I started a new job and was working with you actually, and you're like, hey, I like to run sometimes on my lunch break, and I was like, shoot, I'll give that a try. And I remember the first time we actually worked out, I couldn't even make it through a 1 mile run. Like I was dying. So it's just kind of funny to see where I am now versus where I was.
Yeah, it was about a year ago? A little over a year ago?
Year and a half, man.
Year and a half, yeah. So not that long ago, but it probably feels like an eternity, right?
Right. Yeah, because I haven't even hit 2 years yet. So yeah, year and a half. But yeah, and we just started running, doing stuff like that, and then eventually you're like, hey, I do this thing called CrossFit. You want to come over? I've got a gym set up at home. I could show you some of the movements. And I was like, what do I have to lose? And so started working out with you, doing the CrossFit movements. I was like, wow, this is actually really neat. I like the compounding movements. I like all this stuff. This is fun. It's different than anything else I've ever done because it's a little different from like the whole, pump and iron at like a Gold's Gym type feel.
Sure.
Because, that was one of the fixes I tried to apply, but it was too little, too late. I guess you could say like right before this journey, I would go to the gym for a couple of weeks and then I'd just, fall right off the wagon. No real long-term changes were being made. But, once I finally started doing the CrossFit thing, I joined CrossFit Newfound and, I've had an absolute blast there. The community's great and, I've learned a lot and, been able to make a lot of friends and just get strong at the same time. So it's been great. And, I just did CrossFit for about a year and a half now, and it's really changed my life. I've been able to do all this because I started making some smaller changes. That was one of the big things that you recommended for me in the beginning of this journey was, look at what you're doing on a regular basis, right? How often are you drinking soda? How often are you going to like get fast food? How often are you drinking beer? Take all those things, allow yourself to have it, but just limit, and make these small changes. Like, all right, I'm only going to go to fast food, once a week. That's a really easy change to make, but for a lot of people, that's like a huge difference. So,
Sure.
Just a bunch of small changes, doing CrossFit and just, finding people to keep me motivated has been the big thing there. So that's kind of my journey,
Awesome.
in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I guess, and then of course the thing we're trying to show is that, gaming alongside of that, and kind of the idea there is that if it feels like maybe they're not saying it explicitly, but it seems like people say like, oh, you sit around and play games, or you are a really fit person who goes to the gym, and it doesn't seem like anyone's talking about the idea that you can do both. Like,
Yeah.
you can totally sit around and play games for half the day and then, go work out for a couple hours and be totally healthy. And what was it like, I guess, finding fitness at the same time as still gaming? Was it hard to game at the same time? Like, were you finding yourself in those habits of like, Cheetos and Mountain Dew, like, which is huge in the gaming world, right? But that kind of habits, or were you able to, I guess, transition from non-fitness to fitness and then also just keep gaming at the same time?
So yeah, for a little bit there, some of the old habits, they die pretty slowly, right? So I did find myself when I was gaming always craving those Cheetos or whatever. My big thing was ice cream. I love to have ice cream when I'm gaming.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So good.
But I still let myself have that stuff here and there.
Sure.
As far as like, having time to play games and stuff, like you said, it only takes, an hour and a half to get a solid sweat session in. And, then you've got the rest of your day. There's a lot of time in the day. And so you can still get a couple hours of gaming in. So I would just, like me, I game with my brothers a lot. So I pretty much come home after the gym, I shower, I eat, and then I'm like, let's get on a game, like 8:30, and we still get a couple hours of gaming in a night. And, there's really no difference, Plus having more energy and feeling, better every day allows me to, game more, if you will, because I'm not tired all the time. I'm not, sleeping as much, I guess you could say. I feel a little more stimulated. I feel like I have more energy. I feel like I can focus more. So, and in some ways, being fit has kind of helped in gaming.
Oh, nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Probably a little bit more mental clarity and sharpness. Yeah. Well, that's an awesome story, and thanks for sharing, your journey. And for me, I don't know if you can tell with this Halo collection, I was pretty big into Halo growing up, ever since the first Xbox or whatever. So big time competition tournaments. Like when Halo 2 came out, that was like the thing I did as a teenager was I would go to competitions, compete, not usually the online ones, but actually the in-person events that they would have around. At the time I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and there was like Scion sponsored one time at a dealership. And I mean, I was kind of like I do in CrossFit. Like I was training on Halo like hours a day,
right?
Multiple hours, sometimes 6 hours of like, even the specifics, like training without using the scope on the sniper rifle. Like there would be hours I would spend just trying to get really good at like twitch firing a sniper rifle. Right.
Right.
It's crazy if you think about it, but it's that same level of detail like in the gym. Like you can spend hours just trying to get one technique of the barbell just right so that we can lift that 5 more pounds or whatever, move just a little bit faster. And so anyway, back to kind of where I started was very out of shape, gamer, lots of soda, lots of, whatever, right? All the good stuff or junk food, right?
Yeah.
And I decided at one point in my life, as a teenager, like 17, 18, like, I want to join the National Guard. And I couldn't even run a mile. Like, just like you, like I couldn't make it a mile without stopping. And I decided to, just keep pushing. And, I joined the Guard and made my 2-mile run somehow miraculously. And all along that same time, as I kept spending a lot of time with fitness, I would kind of left gaming behind for a while. And that was because I associated personally gaming with the old me that was also out of shape and not super motivated to do things beyond gaming. And so I kind of just like locked it up and hid it away. I would still every now and then like occasionally pick up something, or if we went on a deployment, maybe I would game with some of the guys because, what else are you going to do there? But it was never the same kind of obsession it was before. Found CrossFit 2016. My wife was actually doing CrossFit before that, but I wasn't really interested. I was just doing my push-ups, sit-ups, and run, just barely enough fitness to stay in the National Guard. And then when I deployed in 2016, they had it for free there, and I was like, whatever, I'll go try it. And at the same time, my wife had just recently told me to watch one of the games documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
And so I saw that. It was the one where Ben Smith wins, the 2015 games, and he was from Chesapeake. And so, because I grew up down that way, I was like, oh, wow, like this is something like obtainable to people even where I live, right? It didn't seem so distant because it was someone from a community that I grew up in. And so I decided to try a class that was free. I was hooked after the first workout. It felt like all the attention to detail that I could put into games that I used to really enjoy. I found that with CrossFit, doing it. And then recently during COVID, I found love of gaming again. And that's where this whole idea of this podcast was born, was like the idea of like combining those two and sharing it with the world. And so that's kind of where I came from, at least briefly, just, very out of shape, and then somewhat in shape now.
No, that's awesome. And I like the comparison you had about, just making small minor changes, like, in technique and just in gaming, because that's, absolutely right. Like, I used to be really big into Minecraft, so I would sit there and I would go like watch videos on how to build stuff with like redstone, how to get better at like Minecraft PvP. But it's the same concept, because now we've got like a barbell club at Newfound, and you literally just take each like Olympic weightlifting movement and you just break it down into these tiny little micro steps, and you just practice every little thing, and it's repetition, and it's crazy to see like when you put that level of effort into it, like what happens. And I think that's what I really like about this podcast idea is I really think gamers are, they're passionate people. They're just focusing all their passion right now, in gaming. And so if you can take that passion and put it in both spaces, I think it's, there's a really positive outcome there. So
yeah, I think it's one of those things that the gaming community is kind of discounted as being this unhealthy group of people with, smelly nerds, like you name it, right? All the societal things. And obviously you've got the nerds of the world like Elon Musk, right? Like definitely not your typical, looking nerd.
Right.
And obviously that's a stereotype and stuff, and it's mostly not true. There is some truth to it in some circles, of course, just like anything. But I guess they don't have to be forsaken. Like you can be really into gaming and be really into anime, or, like Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon cards I've got in the drawer, right? You can be into all that stuff, and you can also be fit. And so like, if you go to these gaming conventions or whatever and you want to do a cosplay, like you want to look good, like dressing up as these characters that you enjoy being, like, in that kind of world. And the last thing you want to do is be that really out of shape, Dragon Ball Z fighter. It's like, it doesn't work. Right. And even like playing Call of Duty, like I'm big into the shooters and racing games. So like, the shooter games, like I used to play before I joined the Guard, I used to play all these like military shooting games, and it's like, you know, you're running around, you're doing all this cool stuff, and it's like, man, I would love to be able to do these types of things in real life. And there wasn't anything stopping me, but I didn't see it as a viable option for the longest time because I didn't think I could be fit enough to do it. I thought I was the out of shape gamer. Like that's who I thought I was, and I'd kind of accepted that identity as a teenager going through high school and awkward years, you know. So that's who we're really trying to reach, and I feel like it's worthwhile. And at the end of the day, if it's just a couple conversations between us and nobody ends up watching this, right, it's fine too. I enjoy just chit chatting and stuff. I think it's a blast.
Absolutely. I mean, the old adage, you know, CrossFitters just love talking about CrossFit. That's, you know, there's some truth to it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're the only one doing this right now, so that's kind of cool. It's either a really good thing or probably a bad thing, right? Yeah. Awesome. So I guess for our main topic today, what we want to talk about is, I think it's appropriate, like, how do you start? We talked a little bit about how we got started and stuff, but we can dive a little bit deeper into that. If you were to tell yourself a year and a half ago how to start, right, I think that's kind of a good way to think about it, because even if they're not a gamer, obviously we're trying to target gamers, and we want to give to that community. If they were to watch this and be like, okay, so these two guys did it, well, where do I begin? I think that's probably going to be people's first questions. And we'll probably cover it throughout if we keep doing these, but I wanted to kind of start off with that because at the end of the day, if they only watch this one episode, I wanted to give them something or listen to this episode, I wanted to give them something that they could start right away with. So I'll open up to you, like, if you're to tell yourself a year and a half ago, or tell someone in your shoes, or maybe if you think about family members and stuff, like, how do you get them to realize or start, or how do you help show them the way, I guess? Or if they were open to it and they came to you and said, hey, what do I do? Like, what would you tell them?
No, absolutely. So the first thing I would say is, you know, finding long-term permanent changes that you can make, and, you know, identifying those and implementing that and just sticking to that as quickly as possible. And like I said, that's, you know, there's a self-evaluation to that. You got to find, you know, all right, I'm consuming, you know, a couple 6-packs a week. All right, you know, shrink that down. Maybe, you know, go from 3 6-packs to 2 6-packs a week. Yeah. That's going to, you know, you're going to see results, and you literally have to change nothing else in your life. Like, you can still drink a bunch of beer, you can still game, and you'll be healthier, you'll lose, you know, a little weight there, and you'll feel better altogether. And it's small stuff like that. You know, minimize that fast food intake. You know, maybe eat a little less dessert. You know, stuff like that. A really big thing that you also turned me on to about last year was, you know, everyone is like, all right, you know, I'm going to diet, I'm going to do all these right things. And, you know, it lasts for about 2-3 weeks, and then they just kind of stop. They fall off the wagon. One of the big things that, you know, kind of attributes to that is the cheat day mentality. It's, okay, I get this one day a week where, you know, I can be bad. I can just, you know, overindulge. And what you end up seeing is, it's like, okay, well, you know, I deprive myself of all these things, so I'm going to get in as much as I possibly can on this one cheat day. And so it's like, I'm going to have donuts for breakfast, and I'm going to have chocolate milk with that, and then I'm going to have, like, you know, pizza for lunch, burgers for dinners. I'm going to, you know, get a milkshake halfway through the day. And, you know, you look at it and, you know, you've consumed 4,000 or 5,000 calories on your cheat day. So you've pretty much done damage. Like everything you did that week is kind of like washed out at that point.
Yeah, because if you're on a 200 calorie a day deficit, so for those maybe not familiar, like, calories in, calories out is kind of like the base of any kind of weight loss or weight gain. So if you're trying to lose weight, you'd want to find out what your daily metabolic needs are. There's all kinds of calculators online. We can dive into that later. But say you're 2,000 calories a day and you don't gain or lose weight. So you cut 200 calories off of that in hopes to lose weight. So you're at 1,800. So if you're at 1,800 for 5 days, and then on day 6, you eat an extra 4,000 or 5,000 calories, you're actually eating more in a 7-day period than before.
Right.
That's what you're kind of describing.
Absolutely. And so, you know, take that cheat day concept and just, you know, shrink it down to like a cheat meal. I'm going to have one meal, and I'm just going to eat whatever I want. Yeah. But the rest of my meals for that day are going to be fine. So, I like to do that on the weekends. Usually like if I'm going out with friends or family or whatever, I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna let myself have a burger, some fries and stuff. But, I'm still gonna hit a workout in the morning. I'm still gonna, do like a protein shake and maybe some eggs or something, like super light, low calorie breakfast type deal.
Well, you recently did this with going out for wings, right? So maybe just talk about what your game plan was for that.
Yeah, so I got wings with my cousin the other day, and I knew I was gonna drink some beer, I was gonna eat some wings, it was gonna be a good time. But in preparation of that, it was like actually in the middle of the week. It was on one of my rest days. I did like a protein shake for breakfast. Did like a 2.5 mile run before, and my lunch was light. I had like a smoothie and some turkey, and all in all, I still stayed in a caloric deficit at the end of the day. Based on what I burned versus what I ingested, and I still got to enjoy it, and I didn't like hate myself at the end of the day. Like that's a big thing. I think a lot of people, make themselves feel bad, like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten all that, but if you account for it and you allow it, it's a different mentality, and I think putting yourself down just hurts the progress altogether.
Yeah, I like to tell people, like, don't punish yourself.
Right.
And that's, I think, a very quick mindset to get into. And it comes back to this whole good or bad mentality about food. Like, no food is bad, quote unquote. It's just, depending on your goals, does it contribute or does it not contribute towards them? And there's different degrees of that too. And I think once you remove the terms bad, and then you stop punishing yourself, which means you stop having this negative consequence. If you decide, like you did, to go out and have wings and beer, and you did all this prep work and planned accordingly, like, which is awesome, because I think that having a game plan is huge. And then you allow yourself to have those things, and then you felt bad after. Like, if you were to feel bad afterwards, it kind of defeats the whole thing. Like,
right.
It's not pleasurable, and the whole idea of like comfort food is for the comfort, right? And you're going out and have wings, like, enjoy it and like be like, yes, I know this isn't necessarily contributing towards my goal of XYZ, but in order for me to get to XYZ, I need to have a lifestyle that allows me to do certain things that I still want to be able to do.
Right.
And I think that's huge. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was cool because, I had that meal, but I felt good about it. It felt like it was like a reward for, all the hard work I'd been doing, got good workouts in that week, and the prep work I did the day of. So I didn't lose any sleep over it. I enjoyed it. It was nice. And I think it's good. I came in the next day and my workouts felt really solid. I had a little extra garbage in me, and so
and you didn't drink too much alcohol to where it
right.
slowed you down necessarily, at least not noticeably the next day, or gave you a headache or anything, right?
So, yeah, that was one of the huge mental changes for me. It was just like, you can't live your life and like never have that ice cream, never have that cake. That's just not feasible. I mean, you're talking about games athletes, like they, Matt Frazier will hit out like In-N-Out and Chick-fil-A and stuff like all the time. Like it's, and he's a CrossFit Games athlete. He's won the games several times. Like, even the best of the best, enjoy the bad food, if you will. And
yeah, because well, I mean, they're in a realm where they're struggling to get enough calories in.
Yeah.
And while certain foods might be better fuel, sometimes they're in a position where if they don't get enough calories in, they're not going to be recovered the next day. And so it becomes almost like they got to get it in, right? But there's also the other aspect too, like if they've been prepping for something or whatever, and it's afterwards, it's very famous for all the games athletes afterwards to go, after the game is over, to go out and have pizza or whatever, or like
right.
after a competition, have some sort of reward food, or some people call it cheat meal. Like I try not to use the whole cheat thing, because like it should be something you choose to do and you allow yourself
right.
to do it. It shouldn't be like you're cheating on yourself. But yeah, it's the same idea, right? You work really hard, you should be able to enjoy some spoils, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, so for me, the same idea, right? If I were to ask myself that same question about what would I tell somebody, or tell myself even years ago, it's, I would tell myself, start now, because
right.
now I think like, oh man, if I'd only started earlier, right? Of course, like I'm thankful that I started when I did. I wish I'd started earlier, but I'm glad I didn't start a day later, right?
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing to say about that. But yeah, small changes. I was always the person who was like, I'm fed up. I'm done with it. Tomorrow's the day. I'm gonna do everything right. And here's all the things. I'm gonna start this new program. I'm gonna eat this certain new way. It was like I was changing my life all in one day, and that is so not sustainable usually for most people, right? It's like change one thing or two things, and that's what really worked. Is I remember when I started to lose a good amount of weight leading up towards the National Guard. Even before I made that decision, I'd been trying to lose weight, and I found that dropping soda, right, that was something I used to do all the time, and I just went to like flavored waters, like anything sweetened with 0 calorie.
Right.
And that was huge. Like, I dropped so much weight. Now, it might have been at the same time as a teenager I was growing a lot, and maybe that was doubling it up, but I was always very heavy. And like, man, just dropping soda. So it's like never drink a calorie, right? Like, or try not to drink a calorie unless you are intentional about it. And that is so huge. Like, you can drink diet anything. If it's 0 calorie, it's 0 calorie. It won't count towards your calorie goals. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about that. Like, oh, if I drink Diet Dr. Pepper, it's going to do X, Y, Z. But then they'll drink like these 0 calorie ice fruity drinks, right? In bottles. And it's like, that's the same thing. It's just not carbonated. Like, there's nothing. Aspartame is fine. Like, plenty of studies out there, right? I'm not a scientist or medical researcher, but it's been approved for a very long time. So I feel very confident drinking a few diet sodas a day, like totally cool.
Right.
But yeah, that was the big thing. Just one thing. And I remember I started off like I cut 1 soda out, and then I cut 2 sodas out. So it was like one a day or whatever. And then I just cut them all out, went to like flavored waters and stuff, and just started shrinking. And I didn't really change much about the food I was eating. Sometimes I would eat a little bit less. Like if I was going to have ice cream, I would have 1 scoop instead of 2. Like you said, it was just very small. I didn't have to give up really anything unless I truly wanted to. Yeah, and so it was a little bit of mix of like, how much do I really hate myself to like try to change? And I know that's not the healthiest ways, but sometimes it just takes, like, I am really fed up with myself that I'm going to do these things and make a change. So slow evolution. I fell off the wagon plenty of times, lost 20 pounds, gained it right back, lost 20 pounds, gained it right back and forth. I don't want to work out anymore. Okay, now I'm going to start working out again. But finding CrossFit is like the only time I've been consistent. And it's like you talked about, it's the methodology. It's the way you can geek out on something. There's always something to learn. It's not just going in and doing, buys and tries of back and this. And it's like, oh, it's Tuesday, so I do these muscle groups. And it's like, I never wanted to be a bodybuilder in the first place. But so much of the free info out there was how to be a bodybuilder. And it's like, look, if you just want to look good naked, like there's a lot of ways to do that. And so if I were to tell someone like, hey, just start small changes, like if they wanted to lose weight, but if they had a specific goal in mind, like, oh, I want to have a 6-pack, or I want to do this, like, I probably wouldn't put them on a bodybuilding routine. I'd probably just get some of the weight off, right, and do some, stability work and just kind of try a lot of things out. Like I would want to kind of introduce them to like a whole gamut, not just bodybuilding, not just this. I think the mistake is you Google 6-pack abs, and what do? You get 6-pack abs in 6 weeks of so-and-so's ab ripper or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's great if you're already lean enough to see your abs. You do a bunch of ab exercises and your abs look a little bit better. Yeah, totally. But if you do all that and you still have like, 20% body fat for a male, you're not going to see anything.
Right.
You got to get rid of that to see anything. Like, I mean, anybody who's skinny has abs. It doesn't even mean they're fit, but like if you want to have abs, like you got to get the weight off. And so depending on what goals they had, right, I would just down small changes, one thing at a time. And it's really hard. Like the person has to be really emotionally mature enough to kind of handle the idea that they didn't get overweight really fast, and they're not going to get rid of it either, super fast. But if they wanted to gain weight, say they were like very skinny, they wanted to put on muscle, right? Like that's the whole other aspect. I'm sure there's gamers out there that are in those shoes too, that they got to start eating a little bit more calories, and they got to start doing a little bit more weight training and try to bring on that mass, so to speak.
Another really good change that I've noticed, and something that affected me and I see affect a lot of other people is like habit snacking. It's
Don't take my goldfish.
right. But it's one of the most dangerous things you can do is go into the pantry, get a bag of potato chips or whatever, and take the bag into the living room and just start watching TV and just start mindlessly sitting there. And, before you know it, you've consumed like 1,000 calories. And like, it's like, whoa, what just happened? So, really good strategy, limit your snacking, right? And one of the easiest ways to do that is make a serving of whatever snack you want. If it's Chex Mix, if it's your Cheez-Its, if it's your chips, put it in a bowl, put the bag back, and then go sit in the living room and then watch your TV that way. Because what that's going to do is, you're going to be less motivated to get up and go get that bag of chips.
Yeah.
And, you've kind of restricted yourself to like an actual limit, and you kind of know like what you're eating, and you can kind of count those calories, and that makes a huge difference.
It becomes mindless, right? Like if you're watching something, and I guess gaming, like it was always fun with people because like you would pass the controller and then you could eat. Whereas like now it's like I can't even fathom snacking and gaming because the controller, like I would lose my mind having stuff all over the controller, like grease and stuff. But like if you're watching Netflix, right, like that's a trap. Like working from home with COVID and everything, like it's a trap. Like I'll sit down there, I'll find myself grabbing stuff, and if I take the entire container over there, before I know it, I've finished the container, because it becomes this habitual thing where I'm just moving my arm, grabbing it, eating it, tastes good, and it just keeps going. But if you run out of something in a bowl, like with only one serving in it, like you're likely going to continue watching whatever it is until at least it's over. You're not going to just get up unless you're really craving. But yeah, I think that's huge. And like, being able to come up here upstairs into my gaming room and be away from the kitchen and away from the TV downstairs and just watching TV, I find that like I'm less likely to snack. I come up here and hide because being home all day, it's like, man, it's really easy to just grab stuff and just start snacking. So I pretty much come up here, game, try to stay away from the snacks, but you're right, like portion it out into a bowl, enjoy it, and then if you want more, like go back and get some. But as soon as you crack open that bag of whatever, right, you're just gonna sit there and consume it, like, pretty quickly.
Yep. Awesome. And back on the whole small changes thing, we mentioned a lot of ways you can like reduce things to make changes, but something you could kind of add is like, small amounts of exercise. Yeah. In my worst state, I wasn't doing any sort of exercise whatsoever. So, small changes like, you're working, getting away from the keyboard for 20 minutes a day and just going on a walk. Any decent boss is going to recommend that you take some time and, just get that mental clarity, kind of step away and, take care of yourself. And, that's a huge change. It's like very, very easy, low impactful, especially now that we're all, working from home. You don't have to worry about like going back to work all sweaty and whatnot. So just adding small amounts of exercise, I think, can also be a really effective tool to make some early on changes. And, walking something you could do with like, your spouse or, family or whatever, it's something you could share with others. And it's very, very low impact, very easy. And, it's still really good for you, especially if, you're not doing anything and then you start doing that. That's going to be huge. So.
Yeah, definitely. Like say you drink 5 sodas a day, you cut out 1, you're down to 4, and then you go on a walk. Those are 2 positive changes you've made.
Right.
And they're kind of in different domains. You got nutrition and then you got exercise. And that's true. We have kind of focused a little bit on nutrition, not so much on exercise. But yeah, like getting started when it comes to exercise, like, was it you that was telling me about doing push-ups in between sessions or something of gaming?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, and so something I do, like when I die, if I have some extra time and I'm just don't feel like giving out call outs, being a bad gamer, I'll work out, right there, bust out some squats, bust out some push-ups, keep a dumbbell by the desk, small, super small, couple of calorie difference, but a couple calories here, a couple calories there, you've added, 100, 200 calories by the end of the day, if you just want a huge gaming bender. So,
yeah, and say like if you're trying to increase your push-ups, right, like knocking them out throughout the day, a bunch of small sets, that's going to get you better at them. Like, or pull-ups, if you had some sort of like door jam pull-up bar, like knock out a couple pull-ups and then go back to get, like, definitely. We used to do something like that in the military where like every time you walked through like a doorway, a specific doorway, you had to stop and do like, so many push-ups, right? It same idea. So that's awesome. Like, yeah, like you don't even have to leave your room that you're gaming. Like if you really
Right.
wanted to make this change today, one less soda, one less whatever, or like waiting for your respawn or like waiting for the game to load. Drop
That's a good
down,
one.
knock out some sit-ups, do 10 burpees. 10 burpees will do a lot. Like for some people that's a good minute of work, and by the end of it you're breathing pretty heavily.
Right.
For those that don't know, maybe a burpee is go all the way down to the floor, like chest to the deck, and then get up, jump up, stand up, raise your hands overhead, clap overhead. So it's kind of like
Yep.
a push-up in a little ways, but basically get to the floor and get back up. And if you have to step down and step up, that's fine too.
Yep.
That's a fundamental movement in my mind, the ability to get your body on the ground or get it back up off the ground. Like
Right.
old folks, who fall and they can't get up. Think about it. If they could do a burpee, they wouldn't be in that situation either. So it's like, I feel like that's not a big ask for people. And I think they don't think about it. Like, they think, oh, I have to stop gaming, go to the gym, do this thing for an hour, and then come back. But you could make it super inclusive, and it could be more than what you're doing today.
Right. No, that's a good point. And that's something I really like about the whole CrossFit mentality is the idea that you can scale anything to your level of fitness. You can scale up or you can scale down. And I love those videos. For those who haven't seen them, there's these videos of like they're older people and they'll do CrossFit movements, and so they actually take like the burpee and like box jumps and they slow it down, and they do all the same work, but it's in a way that they can do it, and it's it takes longer for sure, but
Yeah, they're like in their living room. They have like
Right.
jugs and stuff, water jugs and stuff. Yeah.
but I mean that's still huge. Getting that level of fitness in and scaling that, and that's really cool because you can do that for if you're injured, you can do that if you just don't have the strength. Like there are still like movements I have to scale. Even doing this for a while, like I still scale my pull-ups.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I still scale a lot. Scaled for life.
Yeah. So, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's another one of those things that, is kind of frowned upon in that gym bro mentality of like, oh, let's go lift weights,
Yeah, the whole ego thing, right? Like,
Right.
oh, if I'm not adding weight, I'm weak or whatever.
You can't use the Smith machine, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's just gotta go. And that's the thing about Globo gyms is it's not a community atmosphere. Like maybe some private global gyms might be, but your typical Golds, like everyone's in the corner doing their own thing.
Right.
And that's fine if you're self-motivated, you know what you want to do, and you can go in there. But I think for people who are trying to get started, they typically, well, what's a low barrier to entry? Well, $10 membership to this thing. Okay, now I have all this equipment at my disposal, but I don't know what to do. So I'm going to walk around, maybe pull on this thing, maybe walk on this thing, and then they leave. And it's...
Right.
I was there. I used to do that. I used to be the wanderer in the gym. Like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I finally made it here. I took all this effort to finally get myself in here, and I'm lost. And like, whatever I did, I didn't feel confident, and I felt like I'm just wasting my time because I don't think I'm being effective. And so with CrossFit, you have a coach, you have
Yep.
a program, they walk you through it, you have everyone around you cheering you, like, so it's really cool. Any kind of group fitness, I think, tends to be that way. So we're not saying you have to do CrossFit, like, group yoga, group boot camps, all that stuff, right, is good because it's going to help you with accountability, and there's going to be other new people there too. It's not going to feel like you're this isolated person sticking out in a crowd of people who are like, super fit or experts or whatever. Yeah, that's huge.
And this is another one of those things that kind of ties directly back into the gaming community, if you will. I don't know about you, but like I would much rather play a multiplayer game than play like single player. It's so much more fun. Hop on a Discord server with a couple of buddies and just you make jokes, you laugh, you can strategize a little better. It's constant communication. So that atmosphere, being around people that are going to encourage you and help you, and you just have fun with, it just makes it seem so much better. Like I said, that's my favorite thing about Newfound is it's just the community's insane. I've got a lot of people who have my back, who look out for me, and it's that's awesome. That was very, very huge for my CrossFit journey and my journey into just being generally fit. So
yeah, and the Halo competitions, they're all team. It was all 2-on-2 that I never played like solo competitions. So totally, that whole team atmosphere and everything, and winning together and losing together, and that shared suffering, right? Everyone
Right.
else is there suffering. Everyone else there is scaling something in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you get the one person in the gym that's just awesome, right? And everyone's kind of aspiring to be that good at stuff, and that's fine. But even they are there, like rooting for you and cheering you on in a positive way. And so that's really huge. And that kind of goes to one of the other points I jotted down. Is like finding an accountability partner or group, or
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily have to work out with you. I think it's awesome if they can, but even someone who's rooting for you. So a sister, a brother, a spouse, a mother, a father, like tell them, like if you really want to start, not only those things we said earlier about like small changes, but tell someone like, hey, I'm going to try to really, get my life in order, whether it's fitness.
Right.
And obviously don't ask them to like, get on you if you're doing something wrong. Like it shouldn't be negative feedback, but they should be there to support you, right? And having someone and confiding in them like, hey, I really want to make an effort to this, like I think can be huge and can be beneficial. And if you don't have someone like in your life, that's fine too. Like you can totally do it without it. But definitely if you can find a friend or someone to kind of share your journey with,
Yep.
I think that's huge. And for a lot of times I was, the solo person working out or whatever. Like even at Newfound when I was there, it was great and stuff, but I never really found someone I really connected with to have like more of that one-on-one partner thing.
Right.
And then you joined at work. And I decided just to corrupt you slowly and make you my
Made me
my
drink the
partner.
Kool-Aid,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. I forced it down your throat. So it's been great having you and bouncing ideas and just hearing like your successes in the gym just makes me super happy because it's like, yes, like I'm so happy for you because like I want everyone to be able to experience this, but at the same time it's nice to like, hey, let's meet up at the track and go run, or hey, I got this whatever on my deadlift, and it's like you have someone to talk to about it, even
Right.
though we're not spending every session together, and sometimes we don't spend sessions at all for weeks. It's cool to have someone that you can talk to about it. And yeah, my
Right.
spouse is into it, not as much as I am or as much as she wasn't before, but you can only, annoy your spouse so much with
Right.
stuff like gym talk. It's like you gotta have someone. So it's important to have someone, if you can, an accountability partner.
No, definitely. I have to annoy my family with all the CrossFit talk I bring home.
Yeah,
I've heard it from my sister, like, oh my God, here he goes again.
that's right. How do you know someone does CrossFit, right? They'll tell
Yeah,
you about
that's
it, right?
It's like the vegan basically. Oh, hey, I'm vegan.
Yeah,
same
right.
thing.
Well, I know people who like even create a separate like IG handle to just share CrossFit or fitness stuff because they feel like they're alienating their friends and family, and that might be something to consider. Like you might find something new and awesome that's
Right.
really cool, but like other people might start distancing themselves from you because they feel like because they're not doing the same things you are, maybe you judge them or they judge you, and it's all communication. But at the end of the day, like, don't overload people with certain stuff, right?
Right.
You can be excited about it, but yeah, I've
Absolutely.
known people who've started separate IGs just because like their friends and family weren't totally into it, and that's sad that they're not there to support them. And that's the same idea. Like you got to find your accountability partner somewhere, and even if they're
Right.
other people on the internet, you got to find them because sometimes your family might not be there for it. They might not understand it, and if it's important to you, then you got to chase it. And that goes to another point of like sometimes it can be a lonely road.
Man, that I have been saying that a lot recently.
Even with all the community stuff and all
Yep.
the stuff we've been talking about and like all the stuff we share, you still feel there's loneliness there?
Absolutely. Sometimes there's even anywhere you go, people are gonna look down upon people really trying to succeed in this. They'll be like, oh, these tryhards. That's really common. But another thing, I think some people just don't understand like what you're trying to do, and they don't understand how hard you're trying for this. And I think people don't even mean to, but they'll actually kind of steer you away from success. Good example, you go to like a family member's house and like, oh, I made these cookies. I really want you to try it. Like, that's great. And it's like, oh, well, I'm trying to keep my macros in check. I don't really want that. And, I don't think anyone ever means for any wrong with that. They're trying to be nice, but it's like, how do you balance that? I don't want to be like a jerk and say, I'm not going to eat your cookies, grandma. But I also don't want to like,
Yeah.
sacrifice the macros there. Another great example is like, the boys call you up on Saturday, like, hey, like, let's go out, let's pregame, let's drink. And that's the thousands of calories right there. That's thousands of calories. And alcohol is like one of the worst things you can ingest as far as like trying to burn fat, because it just stops the whole fat burning process as soon as you ingest it. So
I think some people would say, well, just go out and don't consume any of that. And I don't think they understand how difficult that is. Like,
right.
Man, it's really hard to, like, it's not fun either. Like, they're all having fun and consuming and doing all the things that they're doing, and it's like they look at you, even at least in my experience, like when I tried to do that, like go out and not partake, it's a constant struggle emotionally to look at the menu. Everyone's ordering this, everyone's getting this, fries for the table, and it's like, and you're just sitting there like, I'm constantly surrounded by decisions that I don't want to have to make. And I think that's important too. Like if you're trying not to snack at home, right? Like get rid of the things that, like purge your house of the things that you struggle with. That way you don't have to decide. Like that's so huge. Like you can only make so many decisions in a day. And there's sometimes I don't have the strength to go out with a bunch of people and then say no to a lot of things that are out there. It's like,
no, definitely.
I'd rather just not go to that situation. It's like, why put myself in that situation? And the same could be said with anything. Like if you go to certain areas at night or you go to certain places, like you're going to be compelled to do certain things. And so if you're trying not to do those things, the best way is just not to go.
Right.
Like, and unfortunately it can be lonely, or feel lonely, like your friends are changing or you have to change friends. And which is cool about gaming, because if you don't stop gaming, you can keep gaming with the same people, which is pretty neat.
And, that's another good point. Maybe the strategy is, if you're gaming with a couple of buddies and there's a couple of people who are like, man, I wish I was in better shape, that could be where you start to build that group. You take your crew you game with and you're like, all right, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, let's just, hit it hard. Let's get like a run in. Let's go to the gym. Let's do, some kind of class, just something.
If you're local, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you could like literally game and work out with these people and keep, everyone motivated. And I mean, that would be a huge first step. I actually used to work out with some people I gamed with back in the day, and
really?
that was pretty beneficial. So
that's cool. Yeah. And I guess if you're not local, then like right now, like COVID has shown, man, you can work out from anywhere, and you could Zoom call each other and like, all right, let's do 5 push-ups. Like, it might seem kind of lame, but at the same time, it's just holding each other accountable, and that goes back to the accountability partner. And just don't put yourself in those situations that are just, set yourself up for success. Right. Don't set yourself up for failure. Like, it would be like an alcoholic saying, I really want to stop drinking, but they don't stop going out with their friends to bars. That's really tough. And I'm not saying people who are overweight are alcoholics or that kind of, type, but like it can be that bad on your life. It can be just as harmful in the long run. And just don't do that to yourself. Like, find a healthy balance, say no. Like, you might have to stay in some nights, especially in the beginning. I think as you grow and you get more comfortable with certain decisions, certain things, and allowing yourself to have certain things that don't cause a spiral, you can definitely go back and hang out with your friends, and it's not like you don't have to give them up. Right. But I think in the beginning, it's so important because you're trying to establish new habits. And once you establish them, then you can choose to defer or go off into these other areas and like enjoy some sweets or enjoy this or enjoy that. And it's not going to kind of like, ruin where you are. Right. But in the beginning, it's so important to I guess, just be hypersensitive to your environment.
Absolutely. As far as like starting new habits, and you're talking about COVID, now is actually a really good time to start adding some more exercise into your daily regimen. Yeah. I always hear people talking about working out at work, but that can be, a bit of a hassle when you're going and clocking in, and you've got to, dress up all nice and get ready and go present yourself.
Sweaty at the desk. Yeah.
Right. So, you got to go shower at work somehow after. You've got to like bring a, change of clothes, and you got to do all these other extra steps to get that done. And that can deter a lot of people. Now for, people working at home, and just doing that, it's so much easier to just like literally, wear your gym clothes all day and go for a run at lunchtime, come back, and you don't have to feel self-conscious like, oh, I might smell bad, I need to go shower or whatever. But even if you did, you're at your own house, so you can go shower real quick.
You can go shower, you can cook a fresh meal, you've got got everything you need at home. Yeah, definitely. Like sometimes just be stinky at work. Yeah. How important is it to you? Like, are you willing to forgive the social awkwardness for long-term health change?
Right.
And I think that's important too. Like, how bold do you want to be? And it's okay if you want to be that bold. Like, be that weirdo. Like, it's okay.
Right.
I mean, no one's gonna fire you for maybe, but I guess they would have to like warn you a few times, like, hey, bro, you're sitting here sweaty every day, But that's okay. I think it's important. Like, we're two IT guys, so it's like we sit around all day, and I think that's another thing. It's like not only do we enjoy gaming, but like our day job is sitting in front of a screen, and so if we didn't exercise, like we would be out of luck. It's not like we're construction workers, we're working all day, super active or whatever, coming home and then we're gaming for a couple hours and we're these slobs. No, it's like we're doing intellectual work all day, computer IT stuff. Then we come home and we want to game or even game throughout the day in between things, like during a lunch break and stuff. And so if we were to add all that up, it's like we're sitting most of the day. Like, we're not very active at all. And so it's really easy to put on pounds being in this world. I'm sure like accountants or you name it, right? Anyone who has a kind of a typical 8 to 5 desk job is in that same boat. And I think so anytime we talk about our experiences, that's where we're coming from. So if you're an active person throughout the day, you're probably doing a lot better off than we are. Maybe not. Maybe you're coming home and cracking open 6 beers like every night. So who knows? But definitely in our shoes, it's like, man, there's like sometimes before like I got started down the whole CrossFit road, like I would spend weeks of laying down in bed to waking up to sitting at my desk and this is when I was commuting, obviously, because it wasn't COVID. So like sitting in the car for 30 minutes, sitting at my desk for 4 or 5 hours, getting up to go to lunch, sitting at lunch. So not up very long, going home, which is sitting all the way home. Because, being in America, we don't really walk anywhere. Then I'd come home, sit down, eat dinner, sit at the couch, sit it somewhere else, and then lay back down in bed. So it's like I wasn't up moving around much for the entire day. And
very, very sedentary.
It's insane when you think about all those weeks adding up. It's like the least bit of work becomes very exhausting, like climbing a flight of stairs. It's like, holy cow.
No, you're absolutely right. That transition from blue collar to white collar, I've actually made that back in the day. I was like installing cabinets, and it was great. Like I didn't have to do any exercise because I did it every day while I was working. Picking up cabinets and moving them up 3 flights of stairs. That did pretty well.
Yeah, and then you go to an office job, and you keep the same eating habits, and all of a sudden you're gaining weight. It's like, what the heck,
So it's really important to get some kind of activity, and I think especially if you have like a regular desk job.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think you got 24 hours in the day. You spend 1 hour, which is probably a lot for some people. Like you don't have to spend that. You can spend 20 minutes and get a decent exercise in. But if you only spend 1 hour out of 24, that's not much out of your day.
Right.
And it's just like anything else. You got to find the time. You have the time. You just got to prioritize the time. That's what I'm getting at.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. The question to anyone who might be listening would be, how can we help you get started? I think that's important. Like, send us an email, find us on Instagram. So our email is gamersgonewad@gmail.com. Super easy to remember. And then I'm at Joe_Nismo. So that's JOE_NISMO. And Vinny, what's your IG handle?
Oh man, I actually don't know my IG handle.
I got it right here. That's all right. I wrote it down.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I'm actually at Vinny Morris 76. So I was actually really late into the whole Instagram game, believe it or
Same.
not. I've switched so many like gamer tags and handles and things like that. Like my Venmo, my Gmail, my Twitter, and all of those things. They're all different. So
Yeah,
thanks.
I guess being gamers gone wild, we should probably give out gamer tags and stuff too.
That's true.
So we'll do that. For Xbox, I'm Mozart Effect. I can't remember how I wrote that. It's like zeros instead of O's and threes instead of E's. But I'm on there a lot. I guess we'll probably set up the Discord thing and get all that
that's a great
going,
idea.
right? So send us your thoughts, obviously, if you hear this and you're interested. We want to build our community, right, of gamers and fit gamers or gamers that have gone WOD and decided to start working out and doing that kind of thing. And we can catch you on a game or I guess there's something we can do before we go. Like, what have you been playing lately?
So right now I've been playing a little bit of Minecraft. More specifically, there's this server. It's like one of the most famous Minecraft servers. It's called Hypixel. They've basically what they've done is they've built this massive server. Like there's has to be like a crazy cloud setup to host this thing because there's like 50,000 people on it at any given time. But they've got all these different mini games in there, so you can do like a hide and seek type thing. They've got like this detective thing, like you got to go figure out who's like the serial killer, and run from them and avoid them. So all sorts of different mini games. It's very creative. But one in particular that's gotten really popular because a lot of Twitch streamers have been playing it is it's Bed Wars. So Minecraft, you respawn by sleeping on a bed.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is it's kind of like a spin on Capture the Flag. You've got a bed, and your goal is to protect it. As long as your bed is there, you can like respawn.
Oh, okay.
Once it's been destroyed, you can't respawn anymore. So it's pretty much who's left standing, but you've got to like defend this little, your bed or your flag essentially. So, and the whole time you're like collecting resources and you're buying upgrades, you're buying blocks, you're buying weapons, and it's a really unique spin on the game. That's what I like about Minecraft. It's just one of those games that the community has really taken it to the next level.
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty ignorant with Minecraft. I thought it was this thing that you build stuff with. Like,
oh yeah,
that was I never got into it. I just would see people playing it or my stepdaughter playing it. And I was like, oh, you like build stuff and you like little worlds and stuff. Oh, that's cool. But I didn't realize you could like do all what you're just describing. That's really cool.
Oh, dude, people have done a lot. I actually used to run a Minecraft server way back in the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
We collected donations and everything, made a little bit of money. It was fun.
That's so cool.
I had a bunch of mini games and stuff, and people love it.
Ah, that's awesome. Yeah, for me, I recently got a Switch, so I've been digging into Legend of Zelda. So Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, awesome game. I'll have to admit, though, that I get stuck every now and then, and I have to like pull up a walkthrough. Like,
it happens.
I don't have the patience anymore to spend extra hours just trying to figure things out. Like, I love figuring things out, but like I have like, I guess, an internal time limit. Like, there's a point where I'm like, okay, I've spent 45 minutes and I haven't gotten anywhere on this main quest.
Right.
And I'm one of those, like, I do the main quest, I follow it to the end, and then maybe I go back and do side quests. I'm not one of those that can, like, just venture off of the main objective a lot. Like,
oh, man.
That's why I struggle with RPGs in general and stuff. But, like, I love Legend of Zelda games. So, because you can just kind of trudge along the main, you don't have to do all these things. And it's not so open world that you're kind of just get lost.
Right.
But before that, I had actually been playing the HD Resident Evil 4.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty cool because you got a lot of like item collection and stuff, but it's very much action oriented versus the old school Resident Evil, which is more survival, low slope based. But they have it on the Switch, so I got on the Switch too, and so like, man, I must have played it like I played it through the main campaign like maybe 4 times just during COVID on the Xbox One, and so yeah, that was a blast. Like, I loved that game on the Cube. I still got my copy from the Cube, so I got the Cube, so but it looks really good at the HD remake.
Right.
And so I did all the assignment Ada stuff, all the extra different mini missions and stuff, so I could get like the unlimited rocket launcher and all that. So it's like
nice.
You just go through like your second or third time you go through the campaign, and it's like you're just blowing zombies away. It's awesome. You're just like, man, I spent hours on this section, and you just like murder everybody and keep going. It's so much fun.
That's awesome.
But they have 5 and 6 on the Switch as well.
Oh, cool.
So I downloaded those. I have 5 on the 360. I bought it when it came out, but I never actually played 6. So I'm actually going to do 5 after I finish Zelda. I'm going to play through 5 and then 6. So I've recently played 4, 5, and 6,
Right.
which is really cool. I've never played any of the Revelations, Resident Evils, or anything. I hear those are pretty good too, so I might dive into those because they're on the Switch as well. Which is really neat because the Switch has got so many games from 10, 15 years ago
Right.
that were really good, but if you missed them, it's like, you know, maybe you don't want to whip out the old Xbox or whatever, but it's like, man, you can just download it for like $20 and play them on the Switch, and the Switch is awesome. I can play it in my hands. I've got
Yep.
the controller, the Pro controller if I want, or I can just connect it to my TV or my monitor over here. It's 4K, so it's just nice.
It's a really, really cool console. I mean, I'm a huge PC gamer, but I mean, I bought a Switch, you know, right when the quarantine just started to keep myself occupied, and it's so much fun. And I can't wait till like the next time I travel, I can take it on a plane and you know, have like a full blown gaming console with me and super lightweight. So.
Yeah, we're doing Virginia Beach this weekend, and it's on my list to bring with me because I can only hang out on the beach for so long, read a book, hang out, but then it's like, all right.
Right.
Whipping out that Switch.
Heck yeah, get some Mario Kart in on the beach.
Mario Kart or get some more quests done and some more dungeons and Legend of Zelda. So awesome. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
No, I think that was it. I think this was a really good episode, and I'm excited. I have a lot of faith in this podcast. I think we can really do something with this.
Yeah, so it's going to get better, everybody. The other podcasts I run, I was kind of the host, so like eventually though, Vinny and I will be just bouncing off each other, co-hosting like no problem, and this is all gonna flow a lot better. And you know, we got to get those reps in, just like in the gym, right? And we got to get it in, and it's gonna be better. We're gonna deep dive topics. We're going to cover everything from like deep into like certain games we're playing or storylines of games, and we can also talk about even like certain like new shoes we got for the gym or like recent PRs in the gym. Like we're gonna try to cover a little bit of both worlds and see where they kind of mix and intertwine. So thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you guys.